Good morning, Prism mates, and my apologies for the delay. We have a huge week ahead. And let's just start with the theme of today, Gavin versus Donald. Or maybe I should say Donald versus Gavin. Now, I really don't want Donald Trump's haters to come here. So mods, Deb, Jason, AJ, if you see people here, this is a place where we are entertaining all kinds of comments. But if anyone is totally trolling, you can kick them out. No hate here, just love. Okay, so let's talk about the big differences between Donald Trump and Gavin Newsom. I mean, some of them are obvious, but let's deal with the policy issues. Okay, so let me get out of the way so you can see this. Let's talk about food stamps. Now, it is Donald Trump who cut food stamps, and this is a violation of law because there is a reserve to pay for them in the case of events such as a shutdown. We've had two federal courts who have said that. And meanwhile, so what is Gavin Newsom doing? Well, you may have heard this. This is an excerpt from the governor's own website, but he announced a statewide effort to deploy the California National Guard, right, the Cal Guard and volunteers to help food banks across California. And this resulted in $80 million getting to food banks. And this is helping over 5.5 million recipients of CalFresh. So these are people who are experiencing delay right now in getting their benefits on their EBT cards, these electronic benefit cards where your SNAP benefits are placed. We used to call it food stamps. Now it's electronic card. Now, another distinction here is he's using the California Guard to help Californians instead of what Donald Trump is doing, which is trying to, as you know, he tried to commandeer, try to nationalize the California Guard, essentially to attack people who live in California. That's one difference. Now, in addition to actually being the reason why SNAP benefits are cut, and remember, they don't need to be cut during this shutdown, Donald Trump, in comparison, and this was reported everywhere, but this is a quote from The Independent, Donald Trump threw a Great Gatsby themed party at Mar-a-Lago. Quoting the Independent, Donald Trump hosted a Great Gatsby party while SNAP benefits were about to disappear for 42 million Americans. That is a quote from Newsom. He doesn't give a damn about you. Now, I want to be super clear. The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald is one of my favorite all-time American novels. That said, the setting and some of the themes of the party are about the carelessness and the danger of excess, of selfishness, of inequality and carelessness. I think I already said that, which ultimately, during the Jazz Age, which ultimately will lead up to, this is outside the book, but leads up to, in real life, the stock market crash and the Great Depression. It's a wonderful book. And I don't want to give away any of the themes of this, but I don't think Donald Trump thought through what happens to the various protagonists in that novel and the ones who end up looking good in comparison to the lead characters and how their self-centeredness and inhumanity is on display. Another comparison. So that's what comes with SNAP. Gavin Newsom is helping citizens. Donald Trump is throwing a private party at his private country club on a theme of excess and selfishness. Right before a massive stock market crash and worldwide downturn. Okay, what else is Gavin Newsom distinct from Donald Trump? Well, Gavin Newsom is supporting labor unions in California. This is a quote from Newsom's website and a photo there. This is some legislation that he signed a few weeks ago. So while Donald Trump shuts down the federal government, fires union workers, and rolls back worker protections, Gavin Newsom signed landmark laws giving more than 800,000 rideshare workers a route to union representation and higher wages through a deal that also lowers costs for riders across the state. Wonderful. Let's compare that to Donald. What is Donald doing? Well, there he is. Donald Trump, this was just a few days ago, a federal judge extended an order barring the Trump administration from firing federal workers during the shutdown. That's one thing. He's trying to fire federal workers in the shutdown. The Economic Policy Institute described Donald Trump as the biggest union buster in U.S. history, that more than 1 million federal workers' collective bargaining rights are at risk. And it's not just about what's happening to federal workers during the shutdown. What you should know is that Donald Trump is dismantling, and the piece I'm talking about right now that I showed you the excerpts from is from September. What I'm talking about here predates the shutdown, and that back in March, Trump issued an executive order that stripped union protections from more than 1 million federal workers across many agencies. He also expanded that through another executive order. The other thing he's done is the National Labor Relations Board. He is trying to eviscerate it. One thing he has done is he fired one of the board members. And what that means is what's happened now is there was only, this is September at the time, one member of the board remaining. So they could not have a quorum, which makes it impossible for the NLRB to hear cases about unfair labor practices or union representation. So that is not great. Now, so we've talked now about SNAP benefits. He wants to take money down. So Newsom is helping people as governor of his state deal with the lack of funding to buy groceries. Donald Trump is ignoring court orders and throwing, as we saw, Gatsby-themed parties. Donald Trump's a union buster. Gavin Newsom is expanding workers' rights, including workers who are rideshare drivers. One more thing. What is Gavin Newsom, and there's so many more, what is Gavin Newsom doing about reproductive freedom? Well, again, he is, as you know, the Trump administration, through its so-called Big Beautiful Bill, what Newsom calls Big Beautiful Betrayal, is defunding Planned Parenthood centers. So Newsom announced investments in $140 million in investments in California state funding to support these healthcare facilities to help millions of Californians. And you may remember Donald Trump, and this is an excerpt from PBS, that during his 2016 presidential campaign, Donald Trump said, quote, "You have to ban abortion." He wanted some form of punishment for women who got what he so-called illegal abortions. And of course, in 2016, he stacked the United States Supreme Court to overturn Roe versus Wade. Could we draw more of a contrast? Yes, my friends, I think we can. Because this is just talking about their policy and their either care or disdain for citizens. But wouldn't you like to hear the difference in how they speak to the public? I think you would. And just this weekend, we had, let's look. Let's start with Gavin. We have examples of Gavin Newsom speaking to the public in a way that one would expect a public official who is being interviewed on television to speak in complete sentences and staying on topic and expressing himself in ways that are intelligible and clear. I know this seems like some fundamental baselines, but let's look at an example of that. And I guess I will play you this short clip. Bear with me while I share this with you. This is easy to do. 1, 2, 3, we'll get done. Okay. And
as I said a moment.
Let's go, Gavin.
And remember, it's Prop 50, because this impacts everyone watching in all 50 states. As I said a moment ago, Donald Trump is an historic president, historically unpopular. He's been very open and honest, including right outside the White House just last week, saying incumbents are likely to lose the midterms. That's why he called Greg Abbott. That's why he said he's, quote unquote, entitled. Think about that. Entitled to 5 seats. That's why he sent J.D. Vance to Indiana shortly thereafter. That's why he moved in Missouri. He moved the folks in North Carolina. And now we've got a special election in Indiana, or rather a special session, and likely movement in Florida. He is not screwing around. He's changing the rules. He's rigging the game because he knows he'll lose if all things are equal. He did not expect California to fight fire with fire. And remember, it's Prop 50.
Okay, so what that was about, as you probably know, is there is a huge election tomorrow across many states. And in California, this Prop 50 or Proposition 50 is giving the voters in California the ability to agree or disagree with the plan to redistrict in California to create more seats that will now be probably result in, I think it's maybe 5 more Democratic members of Congress. I don't know the specific numbers. And this is the fighting fire with fire. So this is Gavin Newsom speaking for a little over than a minute just under a minute, for 52 seconds, speaking about one topic, which is the importance of passing Prop 50. The reason that Donald Trump is trying to get states like Missouri and others to do their own redistricting because his policies are hugely unpopular. So he's trying to add members of Congress by redistricting. Newsom saying, I'm going to fight fire with fire. I think that's a pretty basic example, of Newsom speaking about a complicated issue. Now, let us turn to Donald Trump. As you may know, and I couldn't stomach watching it, Donald Trump was interviewed for 60 Minutes by Norah O'Donnell, even though he made a big deal out of suing CBS with 60 Minutes, suing the network because he claims that they didn't air the full uncut interview with Kamala Harris before the election. 60 Minutes did not air the full uncut interview of Donald Trump. They did put up a transcript so you can see the parts that they left out. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the parts that they left in showed a complete rambling mess. I hope that you can get the sense of this. I'm sure that you have already seen some of this. So, yeah, I mean, this is, there's some of it. Okay, so this is his. Here is one Donald Trump. Norah O'Donnell asked him about whether we're going to war with Venezuela. Let's listen to Donald Trump seemingly answering this question. We'll look at a series of him being a weirdo. Okay, here we go.
Mm-hmm. Are we going to war against Venezuela?
I doubt it. I don't think so, but they've been treating us very badly, not only on drugs. They've dumped hundreds of thousands of people into our country that we didn't want. People from prisons, they emptied their prisons into our country. They also, if you take a look, they emptied their mental institutions and their insane asylums into the United States of America because Joe Biden was the worst president in the history of our country.
Are we going?
Oh, that was a bizarre, not on topic. Okay, so now you know there's huge differences between Newsom and Trump. There's actually huge differences between many normal people and Donald Trump, and yet Donald Trump has the nuclear codes. Donald Trump thinks we might be going to war with Venezuela without congressional approval. It's not really clear what he is thinking, but I would like to say there's something else that came out in the interview. So let's just pivot to some things that came out in the 60 Minutes interview that are of concern. Last week, you may have heard that Donald Trump pardoned CZ, or he is this big, the guy who founded Binance, right? And he goes by CZ. His name is Changpeng Zhao, so C for Changpeng and Z for Zhao. So he pardoned CZ, who had already served a brief sentence and was, I'm forgetting whether he was in UAE. He was not, he was hanging out, still doing his crypto gig. And you may remember that this is a guy who was pardoned for running Binance, which is a cryptocurrency exchange, which was used by, allegedly used by terrorists and other organizations who are engaged in illegal activity to money launder, essentially. And that is why he ended up pleading guilty and serving the sentence that he did. I think it was a few months. So you also may remember when we had Eric Lipton on the show from the New York Times talking about how there was this deal that involved Donald Trump deciding to use let me just say this in that Donald Trump somehow managed, it sure as heck looked like a quid pro quo. And it involved Donald Trump getting this, you know what, I think I have it, even though I had Eric Lipton on my show. I'm going to share right now so you can remember this. This is an Anderson Cooper clip. This is showing you the arrangement between this very strange financial arrangement with World Liberty Financial. So let me just get this here because I don't want to have to go back and explain it for you. I think this will be more interesting. Let me share this with you. With UAE and how it boosted, how CZ, the guy he just pardoned, was actually helped Donald and World Liberty Financial. So let me share this with you right now.
Now is Eric Lipton, investigative reporter for the New York Times. So let's talk about Binance, the co-founder known as CZ, and what message you think the president is sending with this pardon.
Well, it's a very odd arrangement because Binance has $2 billion worth of stablecoin cryptos deposited in World Liberty Financial. And those stablecoins are earning yield and essentially a huge return for President Trump, his family, and Steve Witkoff's family, the Middle East envoy. So, I mean, effectively, Binance is paying money to the Witkoff and Trump families at the same time as CZ was actively working through lobbyists to seek a pardon. So here you have not only is Trump pardoning, Santos and other people convicted of various crimes, but he is actually pardoning someone that is effectively through his business operations making payments to him and to his members of his administration. So it's a very unusual arrangement, really. And again, another precedent that we're seeing in American history to see a direct financial connection between a pardon and the individual that got that pardon and the president's family.
Okay, so that was Eric talking about the relationship. And let me just remind you from the New York Times piece that Eric had spoken about earlier, this is the situation where the way this went down is a member of the ruling family in the United Arab Emirates wanted to use their sovereign wealth fund to invest in Binance, to buy a stake in Binance. And the way you could do that, it'd be pretty easy, is just to pay $2 billion, maybe in US currency, whatever so-called fiat currency, government-backed currency he wanted. So they wanted. So instead of taking $2 billion US dollars to invest in Binance, US dollars tend to be a currency used in many places because, not volatile, etc. It's kind of the world's reserve currency still. Instead of this UAE sovereign wealth fund paying $2 billion for a stake in Binance, like an equity stake, they decided instead to first take their $2 billion and purchase coins from World Liberty Financial, the so-called stable coin, and then give those stable coins to CZ, who runs Binance, essentially to Binance. And now, instead of having $2 billion in its bank account, Binance has so-called $2 billion, apparently, worth of World Liberty Financial coin. So what does that mean? Well, first, it means that the United Arab Emirates has a stake, has an equity stake, is a partial owner now of Binance. And it means that CZ, who controls Binance, has in his crypto account these coins, coins. Now, how does Donald Trump and his family make money on that? Well, UAE gave Donald Trump's company $2 billion. And they can do whatever they want with that $2 billion. Now, I know you're going to say, Jennifer, they can't do whatever they want. Wasn't there a legislation passed called the Genius Act that requires that people who run these so-called stable coins only take customer money and use it in certain types of investments? Yeah. I've read the legislation. Two things. There's a lot of leeway in there. And secondly, CZ ain't ever going to ask for his $2 billion in cash, right? So imagine this. I'm going to show you. Imagine that this yellow piece of paper is the crypto coins, right? The United Arab Emirates gives me, pretend I'm the Donald Trump Liberty Financial, gives me $2 billion and takes these crypto coins that I say are worth $2 billion. Then UAE hands these to CZ, who runs Binance. While CZ is holding this, not only do I get to keep my $2 billion, but I'm earning money off of this because I keep the $2 billion and I invest it where I want, and I keep that. And I know damn well if I'm World Liberty Financial or, which is Donald Trump and Witkoff, I know CZ ain't ever going to ask me. CZ ain't ever going to hand me this back and say, buddies, give me my $2 billion. Why do I know that? Because CZ got his pardon. This is how it went down. No, I wasn't in the room, but I can tell you that is the flippant implication. So now I've got to get you, if you're with me now, to the moment that Norah O'Donnell asked Donald Trump about that pardon. Okay, guys, this is super cool. Let's share this. Okay. You ready? I'm ready.
This year, the president has pardoned or shortened the sentences of more than 1,600 people. The latest pardon was for a cryptocurrency tycoon who is known as CZ. The company CZ founded, Binance, helped boost the profile of the Trump family's crypto firm, World Liberty Financial. He pled guilty in 2023 to violating anti-money laundering laws.
Right.
The government at the time said that CZ had caused significant harm to U.S. national security, essentially by allowing terrorist groups like Hamas to move millions of dollars around. Why did you pardon him?
Okay, are you ready? I don't know who he is. I know he got a 4-month sentence or something like that, and I heard it was a Biden witch hunt.
In 2025, his crypto exchange Binance helped facilitate a $2 billion purchase of World Liberty Financial's stablecoin. And then you pardoned CZ. How do you address the appearance of pay for play?
Well, here's the thing. I know nothing about it because I'm too busy doing the other.
But he got a
only
pardon.
tell you that.
But he got a
no,
pardon.
I can only tell you this. My sons are into it. I'm glad they are because it's probably a great industry, crypto. I think it's good. You know, they're running a business. They're not in government.
Because you were. This year, the president has.
Guys, I would like to ask you. Couple things. When Donald Trump says I know nothing about it, I've heard him use that exact phrase when he knows something about something. Like it's what he used. He uses that repeatedly. It's not true. Secondly, even if it is true, so one of two things. One, he is lying to us, which is likely. The other is, really, if he knows nothing about it and he signed someone's pardon, who put it before him then? I mean, this is so deeply, deeply corrupt. But that is not all. And we're not even on Crazy Town. I want to also share with you, because I think this is also just very telling about Donald Trump at this interview. And then I'm going to switch to some other stuff that he might be shooting himself in the foot on. Okay, so this is nutso. Donald Trump is one of, I would say, the most vain men or people that I think we have ever encountered in the world. It is his obsession with being the quote unquote, the best, the most attractive, the smartest, none of which he is, because there's no such thing, first of all, as the best, the smartest, whatever that is. But even if there were levels, he ain't at any of the levels. Okay, he hasn't reached the level, the category of greatness in intellect or physical beauty, because he is rotten to the core. And that seeps out, as we've talked about, such as leaks out onto his, trying to cover up his hand, trying to cover up his skin, trying to cover up everything. Okay, I want to share with you this because this blew my mind. Okay, here we go. Also from the Norah O'Donnell interview. Let's go.
Zoran Mandami, 34-year-old Democratic socialist. He's the
communist, not socialist, communist. He's far worse than a socialist.
Some people have compared him to a left-wing version of you, charismatic, breaking the old rules. What do you think about that?
Well, I think I'm a much better looking person than him, right?
But what if Mandami becomes mayor?
It's going to be hard for me as the president to give a lot of money to New York, because if you have a communist running New York, all you're doing is wasting the money you're sending there. So I don't know that he's one, and I'm not a fan of Cuomo one way or the other, but if it's going to be between a bad Democrat and a communist, I'm going to pick the bad Democrat all the time, to be honest with you.
Zoran Mandami.
So I'm trying to understand the kind of money he thinks he's sending to New York City, but maybe he's talking about disaster relief. The thing with Donald Trump is it's all failing. His retribution game, it's collapsing. And okay, so let me Now that we've done a little bit of that, let's talk about the week ahead, because we've got some big stuff. Tomorrow, obviously, is voting day. Wherever you are, find out what's on your ballot. Go vote. If you think you're not registered, you can still go in and file a provisional ballot. Some people don't know this, but you don't have to re-register every year. If you're registered to vote, you're probably still on the voting rolls. If not, though, you'll find out. So where you live, go in to find out. You can Google online where your polling place is. Sometimes it changes. Come in. Most places, I don't think, have any kind of voter ID requirement, but just in case, if you drive, bring your driver's license. Just in case, if you have a piece of mail, bring it just in case. But again, I don't think you need to, but just show up and vote. Now, the other thing to do is, because I had to do this in my area, you might think, well, I know who I'm voting for mayor, but there's other stuff on the ballot, and I don't want to just guess. So take a minute. You can type in your address and zip code, and you can find out, they'll show you a sample ballot. They'll show you what's on it. And so, there may be someone who's for police commissioner and for mayor and for city council or what have you. And sometimes it will say choose two, and there's only two on there. So that's not so hard. But sometimes it will say choose two, and there are 5 choices. You can also just Google, and your local newspaper online has probably told you, oh, what do these folks stand for? The other thing you should know is you can go in and vote and leave some things blank. Show up even if the only thing you're doing there is to vote for mayor or to vote yes on some proposition. Don't be afraid to leave something blank. Now, that's the rule. I know that things are different with ranked choice voting and so on, but we're talking about now a general election tomorrow. Go vote. Show up and bring a friend too. Okay, so that's happening tomorrow, big voting day. And, I'm sure all the television news stations are going to be watching in the major areas, but you watch in your local area. Your government matters. Your school committee matters, right? Find out what's going on. The other thing to do, if you don't have time to Google, do you have a trusted friend who shares your political views? You can call them or text them and say, who are you voting for? Have you looked into this? Text a bunch of friends. That's better than not showing up because you're afraid that you don't know enough about the candidates. Okay, what's also happening tomorrow, Tuesday, November 4th, is something I'm super excited about, which is the appellate argument in the Sam Bankman-Fried case. And I'm super excited about it for a couple of reasons. One, he has not yet been pardoned. So there's actually somebody who may stay in prison for being convicted of white collar criminality. But the other reason why I'm excited about it is I have read the briefs and this I'm preparing because this Thursday night, I am going to be on a panel at Fordham Law School. It starts at 5 p.m. It is not going to be live streamed, but it's going to be turned into a podcast. I'm going to be on this panel with a fellow law professor, and I'm going to share this in the chat. I'm going to be on this panel with a fellow law professor and a journalist to talk about the Sam Bankman-Fried situation. So it's going to be Professor Richard Squire. He is a bankruptcy expert and also a journalist by the name of, why don't I have Jonathan's name? Jonathan Jones, who is an investigative reporter. And he sat down with SBF for 10 hours and conducted interviews at prison. So we're going to be talking about his 25-year prison sentence, what SBF is asking for in his appeal, and also some corruption that went down involving the bankruptcy of the company that he operated, FTX. He also operated another company called Alameda. Okay, so why am I telling you that? Well, I'm super excited about that, but guess what? Oral argument in that case begins tomorrow around 10 a.m. Now, it's not exactly 10 a.m. because there's a case that's going to be heard before his. the Second Circuit Court of Appeals has given each side 10 minutes. So in theory, the first case will be done by 10:20. His case will begin around then and be wrapped up before 11. So I'm going to be focused on that tomorrow. So I will be reporting back to you on Wednesday about what happened in that case. So I'm very excited about that. We also have, which is also super exciting for all of us, is on the Wednesday will be oral argument at the U.S. Supreme Court on Donald Trump's tariff case. And all of this is amazing. I won't be able to listen to it. I don't know if people can listen to it live. I'll be able to. They release the transcript later in the day and the recordings later in the week. So I'm very excited. And as soon as I can, I will report back what I know about that. But there'll be other reporters who have that news, and I'll let you know how that goes. So this is a very exciting legal week ahead of us. Now, a few more things that I want to share with you before we get to Crazy Town. I'm feeling more optimistic about the state of the world. I think that people are getting fed up. I think at some point the dam has to break. And so let me tell you what folks are fed up about. Mike Johnson, right, the Speaker of the House, has kept the House of Representatives adjourned for, I think it's now more than 90 days. And over the past, according to Ron Filipowski, an editor over at the Midas Touch Network, they have only worked 12 out of the last 103 days, and they're getting paid. Now, keep in mind that this is unrelated to the government shutdown. The Senate has been meeting. So here's the deal. We are paying for these people to hide the truth from us, to keep the Epstein files from us. This is why he does not want them going into session. He does not want to swear in the representative from Arizona. He does not want to have her be the extra vote that they need for this so-called discharge petition to demand the Epstein documents. That's one thing to know. Now, another thing that people are getting fed up about, the brutality of ICE. We just had yet another shooting. This was in Los Angeles. A U.S. citizen, was shot in the shoulder through his car window by ICE. He says it was unprovoked, that he had pulled up to the ICE officials saying, people are about to pick up their kids, meet their kids on the school bus here. Could you wrap up your operation and move on? And that he was backing up his car where he was pulled over to the side of the road to move out. And they said he was trying to run them over. I don't think there's been any body cam on that yet. The other thing I think people are getting fed up about is how insane Donald Trump is. Things like saying he is going to somehow come into Nigeria, guns a-blazing or something. It's crazy. Okay. So I think that's not great. But some good news is Donald Trump, here's where he may be shooting himself in the foot. He is, and I want to share this with you, he is putting pressure on the Senate to end the filibuster, right? I don't even need to show you his True Social. This could only help us for a number of reasons. First is, and they're going to fully own, if they actually so-called nuke the filibuster, then they're going to show that basically this entire shutdown is their fault because they could have fixed it before. But then also, no Democrats will have to sign on to this atrocious budget. Maybe we'll still have Fetterman, who seems to have lost his mind. do that, but that is actually a good thing. Now, I'd like to share with you now something really interesting, which is, let me just find this. One second. This is how they're scrambling about the SNAP benefits. And I think this is going to hurt them. And I'm going to share with you. This is Scott Bessent. His voice is shaking. He is hopefully tired of Donald Trump's lies, but that seems like that will never.
Yesterday, the court.
Here we go. Let's listen to this.
So let's just start with the SNAP ruling, because 2 federal judges ruled Friday night the White House must tap into the contingency funds to partially cover SNAP benefits that expired this weekend due to the shutdown. Yesterday, the court clarified that at least a partial payment needs to be made by Wednesday. When can we expect the Trump administration to make these payments?
Well, President Trump just truthed out that he needs to hear from the courts how this is going to be done. And Jake, as you know, the best way for SNAP benefits to get paid is for 5 Democrats to cross the aisle and reopen the government.
Right, but there is this contingency fund, and as recently as September 30th, the Agricultural Department had a memo saying that these funds, the contingency funds, I think it's about $5 or $6 billion, could be used to pay these benefits. Now, it would only be 2 or 3 weeks, but that's a lot for people who need the food.
Well, President Trump as I said, President Trump just truthed out that he's very anxious to get this done, and it's got to go through the courts. The courts keep jamming up things. Democrats are in the middle of a civil war.
So that's a complete lie. The courts have jammed nothing up. It's a lie. The Trump administration can release those funds. Since when has Donald Trump's administration ever asked courts, can you tell me how to press this button on the computer and send this money somewhere? It's an absolute lie. Secondly, that's a very big tell. Scott Bessent is saying we are holding this money hostage. If you open up the government, if you open up the government, meaning you keep healthcare premiums skyrocketing, then we'll let you have your food money. We are not fooled by these people. So this is very telling. We also had a similar admission from Mike Johnson the other day. And I think the more that people see the games and the lies, the games they are playing and the lies that they are putting forward, I think that it's going to backfire. Now, my favorite thing yesterday was when the GOP, the Republican Party, announced somehow inadvertently their new slogan. Let me play this for you, and then I'll highlight what I think their new slogan is. Here we go.
So even if the administration figures this out, there's going to be some sort of delay. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says Republicans are using seniors and vulnerable. They're weaponizing hunger.
It's absolutely absurd. They are accusing the Republicans and the president of doing exactly what they are doing. Remember, don't get lost in the facts. Republicans have voted 14 times to open the government.
Don't get lost in the facts. That is a new, I think that is a new party slogan. Don't get lost in the facts. Welcome to the Republican Party. Now, there is more though. There is, one second, I just want to show you another example and of them basically admitting the same. One second. I think you might actually get the point. Okay, so the other big news over the weekend is Barack Obama. He was out campaigning in New Jersey. And I think that it was really nice. It was really nice to see him on the campaign trail. I think he was there campaigning for Mikey Sherrill, who is who is now running, I think, for governor of New Jersey. Is that really what she's doing? Okay, so I'm going to share this. And, you know, I got to say, a lot of us miss him. Huge contrast here with Donald Trump. Okay, let's watch this.
The fabricated conspiracies, the weird videos of a U.S. president with a crown on his head, flying a fighter jet and dumping poop on American citizens. Don't boo. No. Wait. That's not even worth booing about, because all of that is a distraction. All of it is designed to distract you from the fact that your situation, your life, has not gotten better. They do it so you won't notice that at the same time that they're helping the wealthiest, most powerful people in the country consolidate more wealth and more power, your bills are still going up. You're waiting longer at airports because there aren't enough air traffic controllers. The program that helps your kid with special needs just got gutted. They are hoping you don't notice that. But the good news is there is something you can do about it, New Jersey. Right here, right now, because you've got a candidate for governor who's a proven fighter, who's got a track record of getting stuff done, somebody who sees you and knows your struggles and will work for you every single day. New Jersey, it's time to point America in a better direction by electing Mikey Sherrill.
So obviously, former President Obama still has it. And I'm seeing people in the chat saying they're frustrated about the negative comments about Obama. Look, whether these are trolls or, you know, or people coming over from Twitter, or it's just ordinary people expressing their views, you don't have to worry about that. Trust your gut. He's communicating, and some people, you know, that's not their, might not be their taste, but you know darn well that he is breaking through. Now, I do want to get to a moment of crazy town. But before I go there, I really want you to see the full transcript, because I'm going to read a little bit of the 60 Minutes interview. When I'm showing you these snippets, he seems somewhat coherent. I want to show you a bit of this and show you the part that they left out. Actually, my friends, yeah, that won't be the crazy town. I'm going to do crazy town will be a video. Okay, so let me share this with you. This is kind of something to behold. And I'm going to drop this into the chat for you. Okay, here we go. There we go. So here's the full transcript. I don't want that. Okay. So this was put up yesterday at 7:32 p.m. This was the interview for 60 Minutes, was done by Norah O'Donnell, and she went down to Mar-a-Lago, and she started asking about President Xi Jinping. And okay, so let me start out with him. Well, first of all, we get along great, and we always really have we had the COVID moment, which was not attractive as far as I was concerned. I wasn't so happy. But outside of that, we have always had a good relationship. He is a strong man, a powerful leader. And we've always had the best of relationships, probably the best of. I think I could speak for him, just about as good as it gets from his standpoint and from my standpoint. And having that is important because of the power of the two countries. Are you guys kidding me? Are you guys kidding me? Then he said, here we go. Then O'Donnell says, what did you get out of that deal that you wanted? And what does Trump say? Well, I got sort of everything that we wanted. We got no rare earth threat. That's gone, completely gone. We have tremendous amounts of dollars pouring in because we have very big tariffs, almost 50%. We never had anything in terms of tariffs, although I put tariffs on China, but Biden let it lapse by the fact that he gave exemptions on almost everything, which was just ridiculous. But we have billions and billions of dollars coming in, and we have very good relationship. I mean, we have a good, okay, so he goes on and on and on, right? And then she says, Norah O'Donnell says, this trade war, though, was hurting Americans. I mean, our soybean farmers. China had stopped buying the soybeans. Trump says, yeah. O'Donnell said, as you mentioned, China was withholding the rare earth materials that you need for everything from smartphones to build submarines. Trump says, sure. O'Donnell said, what was a crucial thing? I mean, how tough of a negotiator? Then he says, well, when you say hurting, she cuts him off. Is President Xi? And then Trump says, it was a temporary hurt. It was hurt because I was taking in a lot of money from China. We're doing very well. Okay, blah, blah, blah. He goes on. I mean, do you see this on and on and on and on? She tries to return him to the rare earth minerals. And he goes, yeah. And she said, my understanding is about 90% of them come from China. And he says, right now. And Norah says, yeah. And then he claims that within a short period of time, within a year now to a year and a half, we'll have everything we need. And so she said, how do we do that? And he basically has no answer. So she asked him these very direct questions. And you can look at this. He rambles and rambles and rambles and rambles. Now, the part, guys, that they left out, this is what I want to show you. This is the part CBS did not air. Kind of disturbing. And then I'll get to Crazy Town. The part that they chose not to air is this. And actually, 60 Minutes paid me a lot of money. And you don't have to put this on because I don't want to embarrass you. And I'm sure you're not, I think you have a great new leader, frankly. Who's the young woman that's leading your whole enterprise is a great, from what I know. Guys, he's talking about Barry Weiss. I don't know her, but I hear she's a great person. But 60 Minutes was forced to pay me a lot of money because they took her answer out. That was so bad. He's talking about Kamala Harris. It was election changing 2 nights before the election. And they put a new answer in. And they paid me a lot of money for that. You can't have fake news. You got to have legit news. And I think that it's happening, I see. Then O'Donnell says, Mr. President. And then Trump says, I see good things happening in the news. I really do. And I think one of the best things to happen is the show and new ownership, CBS and new ownership. I think it's the greatest thing that's happened in a long time to a free and open and good press. Why the heck did they leave that out? How are they taking editorial advice? You don't need to air this from him. How is it that it was election changing? He won the election. Okay, guys, let's do Crazy Town. Here we go. Okay. Crazy Town today is the brain of Kash Patel, who somehow, he fired someone at the FBI because this leak about him apparently flying his girlfriend on, was it a government jet? He's upset because his girlfriend, Alexis Wilkins, who is, I guess, a country music singer, that he used an FBI jet to come visit her while she was singing the national anthem at Penn State on October 25th. And then I guess he used a government plane to fly back. And now he has gone ahead and retaliated by firing somebody he believes may have leaked that information. And at any rate, it was someone, I guess, by the name of Kyle Serafin, who I guess he's an ex-FBI agent who drew attention to the FBI chief's jet logs. And now Patel fired a guy named Stephen Palmer, who has worked at the FBI for 27 years. He oversees the aviation units. And so I guess his argument, Kash Patel, is that it hurts his safety if this information is leaked. Maybe he shouldn't be using a private jet in the first place. And so this is Kash Patel, I think, when he had his podcast, and he was a critic of Christopher Wray, who was head of the FBI. Let's play this. This is our Crazy Town.
And I'm not saying take all their funding. I'm not the defund everything guy. I'm just saying Chris Wray doesn't need a government-funded G5 jet to go to vacation. Maybe we ground that plane. $15,000 every time it takes off. Just a thought.
Minimum.
And I'm not saying.
Okay, I get it. That's not hypocrisy. He said Chris Wray doesn't need the government-funded jet to fly everywhere. Chris Wray isn't the same person as Kash Patel. You see? That's not hypocrisy. Okay, guys, have a great Monday. I'll be back here tomorrow morning on Election Day with all the Election Day hype ready to go. Have a great day.
Hello, prison mates. It's the Gen Taub Show, where how come everyone? Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There was hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub Show.